Hi, I'm Chike Coleman, that's Sanford Hess, and this is Rural Reviews Home Edition, the show where we talk about movies from our homes. This week, we have two very unique movies that have been released on video on demand, but they also probably would have been released in theaters if given enough notice.
Right.
Um, The Rental by James Franco, which stars Alison Brie, because I don't really care about any of the other actors' names. Alison Brie is also the director's wife, so that must have been an interesting conversation. Hey, honey, I want you to star in this movie that is a horror flick, but also sort of a comedy. But I kind of don't know. I'm just kind of playing with genres. Do you want to have some fun and do that? She said, sure do. Um, so yeah, I want Sanford to tell you about that movie, but there's also another movie, and no, it's not The Kissing Booth 2. It's something a bit more odd than even that. Yes, God, Yes, which was at, I believe, the Austin Film Festival. So Sanford, can you take us through The Rental?
Sure. So, just to be clear, though, it's Dave Franco, James Franco's brother, who is the director and screenwriter.
Mm-hmm.
So the rental starts off with a couple, a man and a woman, leaning over. She's leaning over his computer chair, and they're looking at online, like Airbnb locations. And so we're thinking, oh, that's interesting. They're going to go on the weekend. Well, turns out that they're actually work. There are two people who work together, and this is where it gets a little complicated. Charlie, the guy, and Mina, the woman, so they're not dating, but Mina is dating Charlie's brother, and Charlie is married to Michelle, played by Alison Brie. So it turns out that the four of them are actually going to go away for the weekend. They go to the rental up in on the coast of Portland. I mean, on the Oregon coast, and they're celebrating. Mina and Charlie are celebrating some kind of work success. That's not really important. What's important is that they're going to this awesome rental place. Well, they kind of get some bad vibes already before that because the person who's the caretaker didn't seem to like Mina's request for the rental. She's Mina Muhammad. But then when just good old Charlie asked a half an hour later for the same place, it was accepted. So Mina's kind of on edge, and they're met by this gruff caretaker who is apparently the brother of the owner. And there's a couple different things that sort of set off Mina against this caretaker where it's clear that he doesn't really care for her as somebody whose last name is Muhammad, and she doesn't care for him as a guy who's bothered by that. So eventually, even though he's kind of creepy, he kind of fades out of the scene. And the four of them then proceed to have, they're basically get there on Friday. Friday night, three of them stay up doing drugs. An event happens that sort of changes the relationship among the four pretty massively. Saturday comes, there's a reckoning to be had for this drug fueled night that happened. There's hikes and stuff like that goes on, but then things get weird. On that second night, tempers escalate as the sort of creepy caretaker is back, and negativity ensues. And all of a sudden, there's a violent incident, and now the whole movie takes this sort of turn for the darker, where it becomes more of a situation of four people trying to figure out their way out of a horrible situation. Well, just when you think the movie is sort of changing tone and speed, it changes tone and speed again. And I got to give away a little bit here. Basically, the end of the movie kind of turns into a slasher flick where some person who we don't know who it is has been kind of monitoring all the activity going on up to this point and proceeds to appear on the scene and kill all four of them. Well, three of them. One of them theoretically runs off a cliff. Um, and the movie ends with a sort of unsatisfying, left up in the air situation of we don't know who this person is, why they did that. But the movie then does show us that this person goes on to find a different place where they then set up their new lair for a new rental.
See, the movie you described, I would watch, but the movie we watched,
You would not watch.
okay, you never heard me be really, really hard on a movie, right?
Okay.
Tonight is that night where I'm hard on more than one. This movie is a pile of crap. Mostly because of the fact that it tonally shifts in ways that are not at all relatable, not at all interesting, not at all motivated by anything other than greed. Specifically, when it comes to spoiler alert, people, there's an affair happening between two of the couples. And it makes no sense. Well, I
But the
mean,
affair doesn't make sense because I mean they okay, so I'm not gonna disagree with a lot of the things you're saying about this movie because like I said, the tonal shifts were very jarring and but one thing that I thought I sort of appreciated was that the
go
movie
for it.
has a very slow start and it spends probably the first one half to even two-thirds of the movie laying out the characters and their interwoven kind of personalities and backstory. I mean, two of them are brothers, so right away that's easy, but there's a lot of scenes of them kind of being brothers that you buy their relationship. And then they
Yeah, you
also
buy that.
yeah, they
But
also I mean they do a good job introducing this dynamic between the man and the woman that work together, but they're he's married, but he can't make some comments about her. So I didn't feel like that was totally out of character for them to
no, it's not. It's not that it's out of character. It's in character for who they are as people. But
okay.
what makes it kind of a useless journey is that you see all of them eliminated.
Well, yeah, that was I mean, the ending of the movie to me, I mean, like the last kind of 10, 15 minutes made no sense.
And the other thing I have to trash about this movie is that the people that they're in relationships with, none of that feels particularly happy like these people should be together. At least in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, I would say that they do a pretty good job laying out the relationships. Now, one of the couples is fairly new into the relationship, but the other one has this real kind of I think they're married, but it was definitely like they've been together for a lot of years vibe. Um,
So
Charlie and
it comes
Michelle.
down to this though.
Yeah.
Do you like the tonal shifts enough to say you recommend it, or do you hate the tonal shifts to the point of you would not recommend this to people? Because definitely wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah, and
Because the slow start helped,
yeah.
but everything they turned to made me go, nope, nope, definitely nope.
Well,
Especially when you figure out where the cameras are hiding and why, and the
yeah.
usage of technology in this film.
Yeah, that part was just kind of. Well, I have a new question to ask because I paid $6.95 to watch this movie.
Hmm.
So my new question is: would you recommend this movie for $7 or whatever the current rental price is? And my answer to that is no. And I would say that the reason it's not is because this movie's got some buzz going, probably more because of Dave Franco than anything else. But yeah, the tonal shifts were jarring, and then I just felt like the ending was a total cop out. I mean, not only the fact that there was sort of this suddenly was a slasher flick, but then they didn't even explain the slasher part. I mean, there was just no explanation of who this person was or why he does what he does or any of that. So I felt like that was just kind of. So no, I would not recommend this movie for $7.
I already know one movie that I'm gonna have us watch next week. That's gonna be really hard for you to say I didn't understand the motivations, and see if that changes your mind.
Mm.
Um, I would not recommend this movie at all, uh,
Even for free.
even if you could get it for free, which I managed to.
I,
Just no.
I didn't hear that. Well, one last thing about this movie. So I'm watching this movie and watching this movie, and especially for the first half or so, I was thinking, what's cool about this movie is it demonstrates that you can make a movie with very little money. It's just a very simple. There's only four characters. It's in a house. I mean, they could have filmed this in a weekend.
Yeah,
Yeah. Now, then cut to the credits, and the credits went on and on and on and on. I was just like, wow, I guess I don't know what a small movie takes anymore. So I don't know. I don't
Credit to them for pulling it off, and that's about it.
know.
That's how I feel. Um, so
So
from one,
let's leave the rental in the dust. Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna make this segue for our next film. I pray to God I never have to see it again. And with that said, our next movie is Yes, God, Yes. Um, and that movie is directed by Karen Main and stars one of the stars from Stranger Things, Natalia Dyer. Natalia plays Alice, a girl who goes to school at a strict Catholic school. She's a very good church going girl. She's very well known for being proper. She's 15 years old. That will factor in later. And this whole story takes place in the year of our Lord, 1999 to 2000. How do we know this? Because there's AOL dial up, ladies and gentlemen. It's
They
made
didn't
a
do the
comeback
dial-up noises though. I was disappointed by that.
because they weren't exactly accurate.
Yeah.
So to say this lightly, Alice goes through her spring awakening, and if you all don't know what that term means, then I'll simplify it for you. Her libido starts. She rewound Titanic to the car scene where the windows fog up 3 times. And essentially, she learns that she has those hormones and those feelings. And to her, because of her religious background, it is bad to feel that way. It is a sin. That's what all her teachers tell her. So, because of this, she goes on an idyllic retreat that would allow her to be closer to God, or so it's said. I will also point out that there is a nasty rumor spread about her that she tossed someone's salad. If you don't know what that means,
Don't Google
younger
it.
teenagers, ask your parents. Parents don't tell them anything because they'll be grossed out by this. And she goes on the retreat to basically get these emotions and thoughts out of her head, but she really isn't able to and struggles with the identity of whether this should be a part of her life or not. And there's a very key scene that I'll talk about later that takes this movie from okay to good. Sanford, do you want to give your opinion first, or should I? You're a parent, so I don't know how should this work.
How should my opinion work? Well, I'll say this. I mean, I couldn't really relate to the movie because I didn't go to Catholic school, and a lot of this movie seems to be steeped in. I mean, I really can see that if you went through a Catholic school or grew up in the Catholic Church, I think you'd get a lot more out of this movie than I did because you'd sort of relate to what the characters are going through. But I thought she was really likable lead, and that says a lot because if the movie is centered around one character, it's good to have that character and that actress be really likable. So that was good. But this movie didn't really speak to me on any level. And we're going to get to this in a minute, but I didn't really know what to walk away from this movie trying to think or what the director was trying to say.
Okay, I have the opposite opinion of you. I like the lead, but I know what the director was trying to say, but they used too many tools that made it feel more like satire than an actual relatable story.
Okay. Like what?
Uh, for example, the way the priest behaves throughout literally the entire movie, the way her best friend behaves throughout the entire movie. None of that came across as genuine or honest, and they were always sort of punching for a joke, but you didn't know when the joke was supposed to be funny.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that the priest a little less so, but like her friend was a completely one-dimensional character, and I didn't even understand why Alice would be friends with her because
Mm-hmm.
I mean there was nothing sympathetic. She was just cloying after whatever girl was popular, and this girl's popular, and that girl's popular, and I'm gonna do this, and I just kind of didn't I didn't get it. That was
My
just like,
problem was that I literally didn't like anyone else. No one else felt genuine or organic to me,
well, okay, so we'll talk a little bit about the end of the movie here for a second.
except for that one thing.
Okay, well, the one person who I felt sympathetic to was Wade, the one
What?
who sort of, well, first of all, we don't know that he was spreading the rumor. I mean, that's kind of
True.
implied, but they didn't really clarify that. And then later on in the movie, Wade is essentially framed for something that he didn't do. And he gave that kind of weird, like, speech about how he accepted responsibility when he, we know he didn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was waiting for this big moment when she got up to give that speech up in front of everybody, at the end of this sort of 3-day retreat.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like that moment really fell flat.
Agreed.
And it could have been a great opportunity to make a statement about anything, or taking responsibility, or calling other people out on their hypocrisy, or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Or
There's so,
denouncing the belief system that you think has been torturing you the whole movie. Something like that that would give you a sense of relief that your voice is important and deserves to be heard, and your
yes.
feelings deserve to be valued. Anything along those lines, as cheesy as it sounds, if you were a good writer, you could write a speech compelling enough to really showcase her finally breaking free of those chains.
Well,
Instead,
what else about that I noticed is that last scene had been reshot, because when she got up to speak, this is one of those little continuity things. Her
okay,
hair was different. Her hair was, it was kind of looking the same, but it was different. So I'm guessing that they went back and reshot that final speech. They probably wrote another one and tried to do it again, but I don't know what the first version was or any of that. But I'm just saying it was a lost opportunity for sure. So that,
I'm
and
gonna go back and look at that right after this episode,
yeah, it's
just
her
to see
hair.
if you're
Her hair,
right.
her hair was, when she gets up to speak, her hair is kind of flat in this, and then when she stands up there, her hair is like much more. I don't know. There's more to it or something. So anyway,
Okay,
that I just want to say that, I mean, that was where I walked away from this movie. Like, okay, this movie is telling her that she doesn't have to be, cloistered in the Catholic Church, and she can kind of be her own person. I mean, hasn't that movie been made like 6,000 times in the last 30
right.
years?
What new was this trying to say about the female experience?
Right.
I
Now,
don't
I
feel
mean,
like it had anything new to say.
I mean, if they had done something more drastic, like calling out the priest's hypocrisy in that speech or something like that, instead of the sort of sly way that they did that,
Yeah.
I think it would have been more I mean, I don't know, more powerful, but I mean, anyway, I just, that part was just kind of,
Okay, I'm gonna very quickly go to my favorite part of the movie, which made it go from okay to
okay.
good.
What was that?
That's the bar scene. She meets the owner of the bar, and they
Gina,
share
right?
what?
Gina, I think. Yeah,
I don't remember the
yeah,
name.
yeah.
Um, but she meets the owner of the bar, and they talk about their shared um, issues with Catholicism and how that affect them being attracted to people and hormones and the whole thing. And the motherly advice that she gets of go west, young one, to really find yourself. Don't stick yourself in that town,
In
in that
Iowa, I
place,
guess
in
it's
that
worth
role
noting
that
it's
you've
in
been in.
Iowa. Yeah. Yeah, I like that scene too. It felt a little bit, I mean, the friendly, older person coming in and giving them this, just the little piece of advice that they need to hear, that they internalize. That, again, a little cliched. Nothing, no,
Cliched, but still
not
honest,
really.
though.
Yeah, yeah. Now, it was strange to me that there was going to be a lesbian bar like that in the middle of Iowa.
I know that was the best part for me. The see, okay. The other half of why this movie doesn't work is that the comedy doesn't land. It only landed twice for me. When she used the snake game for more than just the snake game. And when she went into the bar and discovered that it was that kind of a bar.
I don't think. Yeah, I don't think she knew that. I definitely didn't know that going in.
No.
You know what cracked me up? That was just one of those little minor things, but I just thought was so funny. It happens that, like as you mentioned, this movie sort of starts off because she's in this AOL chat room, and somebody instant messages her. Which, by the way, talk about a scary scene. Just given the whole nature of sort of cyber threats and creeps online,
Yeah.
my heart was pounding when that guy was instant messaging her. I'm like, no, 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 don't, but it was a key plot element, so whatever. But he was, Harry Arms 46 or whatever it
Oh
was.
my God. Yeah. Harry
Yeah,
Pitch 46.
no, Harry Arms, because then when she saw that guy at camp, and
Oh, that's
like
right. That's why she
it's
got
like
so funny.
lovingly lingering, and as a guy with more than a little body hair, she was lovingly lingering and running her hands in her mind, in her like mental vision, like running her
Oh God.
hands to his hairy arms. I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of funny. It's like, hey, this is where a fetish comes from. I can see that. So that part was
I'm trying
that
not to
part
laugh
cracked
at
me
that,
up.
but you're right. That is very, very funny. So in the end, I think this is a good movie, and I do recommend it, especially if you have a 15-year-old girl you can watch it with to really, truly explain things to.
I don't know, dude. I'd say if you have a 15-year-old girl, go back and watch the movie 13 that we watched 2 years ago.
I mean,
Maybe I would recommend this
wait,
movie
13 is
for,
in the one with Evan Rachel Wood?
yeah. Wait,
Okay.
is that, yeah,
That
yeah.
might be more dangerous for them than this, though.
I don't know. This one,
Remember all the crazy things they did in that movie?
there was only one or two crazy things,
Okay,
and
we're watching that next week.
I'm not sure we're thinking of the same movie because I think Evan Rachel Wood is much older.
We're watching that next week.
All right. I would say, I guess as a parent, my recommendation on this one is probably 18 and up. I think it's rated R, right?
I it is, but nothing really salacious really.
There's
Well,
a lot of implied, but there's,
everything's implied, so you might be safe. But
yeah,
it's a
but
good way to get your child talking about what they're experiencing, because high school is a crazy dangerous place these days, especially with online social media.
yes.
So it might be worth it to use that as a teaching tool.
Well, and that's
Um,
right there. You can just even the fact that there was no social media at that time. They even took away her phone when she went to the retreats or tried to.
True.
So, yeah, yeah. I'm not sure I'd recommend this movie for $7. I gotta say, I would say this. It has, if you yourself grew up in the Catholic Church, I think it's going to be a better choice for you because you'll get more of the humor and play off more of the scenes. But you know, I would say if you're looking for some new entertainment in this, in the pandemics, it is a new release, so there's something to that. But there's also other new releases out there.
Which we will be checking out next week. I recommend it just because even if the humor falls flat, there is an honest, organic character in it that's worth following, and her
I'll,
journey
yeah.
does have some merit, just not from this target demographic. You can't see, but I'm pointing to myself. Um, Other than that, I would say that we're going to be checking out maybe a new release and an old favorite next week. If you all have any questions or suggestions, feel free to tell UPTV and we'll take those suggestions on board.
Thank you,
Until then, we'll
Jason.
see you at the movies. Bye, guys.